It started with a ding, just like any other email. I was sipping my coffee, still in pajamas, the sunlight cutting through my kitchen window. It had been 4 months since James died. Car crash. Instant. Closed casket. My world had imploded. But I was moving forward, or pretending to. The email was from his address. Subject: Don't sell the cabin. I stared, frozen. I hadn't told anyone I was considering it. No one but James. Before he died, we argued about it in whispers one night, tangled in sheets and dreams of the future. Now, this? I clicked. Emma, trust me. Go to the cabin. Start with the red tin. No signature. No sign of hacking. Just his voice in my head as I read the words. I thought I was losing my mind. But something told me not to ignore it. That night, I drove 3 hours north to the cabin we'd bought for our someday kids. It was dusty, cold, still soaked in his memory. I found the red tin in the pantry. Inside? A Polaroid of us on the dock, and a folded note in his handwriting: I'll always find a way back to you. Start here. Grief swelled, but so did something else, hope. Was it possible he'd planned this? A scavenger hunt from beyond the grave? Or was I chasing ghosts? But as the clues grew more personal, more intimate, I started to wonder. Was James really dead? I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake in the cabin bed, the sketchbook beside me, replaying every moment of the last few months James was alive. The notebooks, the late nights, the way he looked at me with a strange kind of urgency, as if he was racing a clock I couldn't see. The next morning, I found the old landline phone in the cabin blinking. A voicemail. The timestamp? 2 days after James's funeral. I hit play. Static. Then a crackling whisper: Emma. Trust no one. Even the ones closest to you. My breath caught. The voice was his. Shaky, but unmistakable. Tears welled up, but fear spread faster. Who was I supposed to be afraid of? I needed answers, so I drove into the nearest town. I stopped at the library, an old haunt of ours back in the early days. I remembered how James loved history, how he would dig through property records just for fun. I figured if he left clues, he'd hide them where I could eventually find them. He believed in signs more than people realized. The librarian, an older woman named Nancy, remembered me. When I told her I was looking for old blueprints of the land the cabin was built on, she nodded slowly. James came in for those months before. He was looking for something specific. Said he'd found something under the house. Under? I repeated. She hesitated. He was scared, Emma. Real scared. Told me if anything happened to him, you'd be the one to finish it. Finish what? Back at the cabin, I crawled beneath the floorboards. Dust. Dirt. Nails. Then, wooden planks that didn't match the rest. I pried them open. Beneath was a small metal box. Inside, newspaper clippings, receipts, and, most disturbing, an ultrasound photo dated after James's death. I wasn't pregnant. Not then. Not ever. Someone else was. And James knew. The ultrasound photo burned in my hand like it was on fire. I kept staring at the date, clear as day, circled in red ink. It was dated 6 weeks after James's accident. But how? Who was she? And why had James hidden this under our cabin? That night, I couldn't stop shaking. Every creak of the wooden floor, every gust of wind rattling the windows sent my heart into overdrive. I was unraveling. Was James trying to protect me from something, or from someone? Then came the knock at the door. 3 short raps. Hesitant. I froze, breath caught in my chest. No one knew I was here, at least, no one who should. When I opened the door, I wasn't ready to see her. Claire. My best friend since college. Her face was pale, her eyes red-rimmed. She stepped inside like she belonged, like we hadn't drifted apart in the months after James's funeral. Like she hadn't ghosted me entirely. "I need to tell you something," she whispered. Her hands trembled. "I didn't know how to tell you before. But I think James left me a message too." "What do you mean too?" I demanded. She reached into her bag and pulled out a sealed envelope. "He mailed this to me. The day he died. Postmarked that morning." Inside was a single line, "Emma can't know. It's not safe." The room spun. My chest tightened. "You were pregnant, weren't you?" Claire's silence was all the confirmation I needed. "You said nothing," I choked out. "You said nothing at the funeral. You disappeared, because someone was following me. Still is. James knew. He thought he could keep us both safe if he staged the crash." "What?" My voice cracked. Claire grabbed my shoulders. "James isn't dead." I hadn't set foot in the cabin since James died. Now I was curled up on the worn couch beneath the blanket he used to pull over both of us on cold mornings. The air smelled like pine wood and something older, his cologne, maybe, clinging to the fibers of everything he touched. My heart was a kaleidoscope of emotions, longing, confusion, and a flicker of something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. James and I met during our final year of grad school. He was studying architecture, I was knee-deep in literature and theory. He always said I was the poet and he was the builder. We made sense, in a way logic couldn't explain. We built this cabin together, room by room, one winter break. No blueprints. Just instinct and laughter and whispered plans for a life far longer than what we got. But the months before the crash hadn't been perfect. He'd been distracted. Quiet. Some nights he wouldn't come to bed until the early hours, his laptop glowing in the dark. When I asked, he'd kiss my forehead and say, "Just finishing something important." I thought he was working on a secret anniversary gift or maybe a side project. Now I wasn't so sure. The next email came just after midnight. Subject: check the beams in the attic. I swallowed hard. This wasn't just grief. Someone, or something, was guiding me. I climbed the ladder, flashlight in hand, heart pounding. Hidden behind a loose beam was a small leather notebook. Inside, sketches of the cabin, and me. Pages and pages of me laughing, reading, sleeping. Drawings dated just days before the crash. Was he planning something? Or was he watching me now? Then I saw the last page. A note in James's unmistakable scrawl: "You need to know the truth before it finds you first." What truth? Who, or what, was coming? And how much did James know before he died? Just when I thought I had uncovered the full extent of Ethan's betrayal with my best friend, Tasha, a chilling discovery shattered everything again. It happened one rainy afternoon. I was sorting through old paperwork in the attic, trying to clear my mind. Amidst a stack of dusty boxes, I found a small, unmarked envelope. Inside were photographs, dozens of them. But these weren't just any pictures. They were of Ethan, with another woman. Not Tasha. Someone I didn't recognize. In every photo, they were holding hands, laughing intimately, even vacationing in places Ethan claimed he had gone alone on business trips. My hands trembled as I flipped through them, each image slicing deeper than the last. Shocked and reeling, I took the pictures to Tasha, hoping maybe she could help identify the mystery woman. Her reaction was immediate and telling. Her face went pale, and she stumbled backward. That's my sister," she whispered. "Jenna." My stomach dropped. Jenna? The sister she rarely talked about, the one who moved away years ago after a family fallout. Tasha confessed that she hadn't spoken to Jenna in years, until recently. Apparently, Jenna had reconnected with her out of the blue, saying she wanted to make amends. But now, it all made horrifying sense. Ethan wasn't just cheating with Tasha. He had been involved with her sister, Jenna, first. That's how he met Tasha. Jenna had introduced them. I felt the air leave my lungs. This wasn't just betrayal, it was layered manipulation. He had entangled himself with an entire family. Tasha, visibly shaken, admitted that she hadn't known the full story. Jenna never told her about the extent of her relationship with Ethan. I thought I was the one he really loved, Tasha said, tears spilling down her cheeks. I didn't know she came first. Now, everything was twisted beyond recognition. Ethan had played all of us. The lies weren't just personal, they were calculated. It wasn't a single affair. It was a pattern of deceit that spanned years, and 2 sisters. The emotional chaos exploded. I no longer knew who to trust. Tasha, caught in the middle, begged for forgiveness. But how could I believe anything now? Was she truly a victim too, or just trying to shift blame? I confronted Ethan that night. I didn't tell him about the pictures right away. I wanted to see what lies he'd spin this time. When I asked him about Jenna, his face tightened, just for a second. But it was enough. The mask slipped. The twist had set fire to everything I thought I knew. The betrayal ran deeper than I imagined. And I knew then, this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I had spent weeks drowning in betrayal, trying to piece together my shattered reality. But the moment of truth had finally arrived. I invited Ethan to a quiet cafe, the same one where we had shared our first anniversary, the place he once said he'd never forget. I chose it deliberately. I wanted to confront him on my terms, in a space that once held love but now symbolized lies. He walked in, casual as ever, that smug charm still intact. But I wasn't the same woman he'd been deceiving. I know about Jenna, I said calmly, sliding the photos across the table. He froze, eyes scanning the images, searching for a lie that could save him. It wasn't what it looks like, he muttered. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Ethan, it's exactly what it looks like. You used her, then Tasha, then me. His silence spoke volumes. For once, he had no story to spin. No twisted logic. Just guilt in its rawest form. Tasha arrived moments later. She'd insisted on being there, needing closure of her own. Her eyes locked on Ethan's, filled with pain and disbelief. Did you ever love either of us? She asked, her voice cracking. Ethan looked down. I don't know what love is. That was it. The final blow. I stood, my heart heavy but certain. Then let me show you what it isn't. It isn't manipulation, secrecy, or betrayal. It's not playing sisters against each other for your own ego. Tasha and I walked out together. We didn't speak for a while. The silence between us was no longer cold, but healing. Later that week, I filed for divorce. I also reached out to Jenna. She was hesitant, ashamed even, but eventually confessed everything. Ethan had ghosted her before moving on to Tasha. He used the same charm, the same empty promises. She hadn't known he was married until much later. And though I had every reason to hate her, I didn't. We were all pawns in the same game. The resolution didn't come in a dramatic explosion, but in the quiet aftermath, when the truth was fully known, and the healing could finally begin. Tasha and I chose to forgive, not for Ethan's sake, but for our own peace. We didn't resume our old friendship, but we found mutual understanding. It was enough. And Ethan? Last I heard, he was trying to start over in another city. I no longer cared. For the first time in years, I felt free. Not because someone else saved me, but because I had chosen to save myself. But just when I thought the story had ended, a letter arrived. No return address. Just my name on the envelope, in Jenna's handwriting. It took time to rebuild the pieces of my life. After the dust settled, I didn't feel victorious, I felt awake. The pain was still there, but so was the strength I didn't know I had. Jenna's letter sat unopened on my kitchen counter for 2 days. I wasn't ready. When I finally read it, I was surprised. It wasn't an apology, it was an explanation. She told me about the years of emotional manipulation she endured from Ethan. How he slowly isolated her from her family, including Tasha. How he made her question her own reality, just like he did to me. She ended the letter with this: "I hope you can break free in the ways I couldn't." That letter was the final closure I needed, not because it excused what happened, but because it showed me I wasn't alone. Ethan had been a master manipulator, weaving his lies through 3 women's lives, leaving a trail of broken trust behind him. But none of us were defined by what he did. Tasha and I talked once more, this time without tears or anger. She had started therapy and was slowly reconnecting with Jenna. It wasn't easy, but they were trying. And I admired that. Healing doesn't always mean going back to what was. Sometimes it means starting fresh with hard-earned honesty. As for me, I didn't rush into anything. I focused on my career, traveled, and started journaling again. I even turned parts of my story into writing, hoping that maybe someone out there would feel seen. The biggest lesson? Love shouldn't come with conditions, secrets, or shame. And forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, it means choosing yourself over resentment. So to every viewer watching this, if you've ever been betrayed, manipulated, or left in the dark, please know that healing is possible. Not through revenge, but through reclaiming your truth. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next? Drop your thoughts in the comments, I'd love to hear them.